Mike Thompson, we know he's the big poobah here. He's been a representative, the U.S. big House representative guy for a million years. But he's actually a local guy. And the thing that shocked me, he's everywhere. He's supposed to be everywhere from like Arcata down to American Canyon. And yet he's at every damn event. So I thought we should have him on the show and not talk about work stuff so much, but the personal side of this guy, this local guy, Mike Thompson. What do you think?
I love how you call him this local guy. This is probably the most popular elected official in all of California. You were first elected in 1990, I think, to the state?
To the state Senate in 1990, that's correct.
So 35 years, if my math is still good.
Yeah, your math is always good.
So I know, because you've spoken to kids in school frequently. You're very generous with your time about that. And you've shared with them that you did not have a traditional path to becoming an elected official. But there are people who may not know that story. So would you care to tell them that?
Sure, I'd love to. But first, let me say thank you, Barbara, for all of your time in public service, and congratulations on your retirement. Well earned. You did a great deal for our community, and you really added to the quality of our education. So thank you.
Thank you. But Mike, I didn't retire as much as I rewired.
I get it.
I'm still working, just not doing that job.
Yeah. So you've heard the story before, because I've made it a point to, I promise to visit a school a month. And some months I miss, but some months I do 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it's really important. Our young leaders, our young voices are so important. And I try and do that to encourage more young people to take an interest in public service and in public office. So you've heard it before.
But I love it. I like it every time.
The way I think I explain it to students is that when I was in high school, I knew for a fact that I was smarter than all of my teachers, all the adults, my parents, and I dropped out of high school. After my last basketball season, I left. And I went over to Santa Rosa Junior College and found out probably in the first month over there that I was smarter than the professors there. And next thing I knew, I ended up in the military. So I went into the Army, and I served. I did all my training. I was an infantryman, so I did my basic training, my advanced infantry. I went to airborne school, learned how to jump out of airplanes, and then went to Vietnam. It was probably 5 minutes after I got off the bus from the airport to Fort Lewis, Washington, that I realized the adults, the teachers, and my parents were probably a little smarter than I'd given them credit for. And not long after that, when I realized I made a big error. And I did it, as you say, non-traditionally. I tell the students I'm probably the only person that can come into their classroom and tell them that I have a GED that I got in the Army.
Love this. I love this.
An undergraduate degree, a high school diploma, and a master's degree
in that order. Wow.
Between undergraduate and graduate school, I contacted St. Helena High School to find out what I needed to finish my high school diploma. And I needed a science class and an English class. I took them both at Butte College while I was getting ready to go to graduate school. And I passed, and I actually have the diploma that they gave me. And I also tell them, and this is important for anyone who's watching, don't do it the way I did it.
How did your parents relate to you dropping out of high school and joining the military?
Well, they're long gone, so I don't want to speak for them, but
not well.
They didn't like it, but we worked through it. And
I believe in truth in advertising, and as we promoted this, we said we were going to talk about the personal side of you. So as the human being who does spend a lot of time in Napa still, what's your favorite, if you had 1 hour to spend in Napa, how would you want to spend it?
Oh, Napa Valley is like the most beautiful place on the face of the earth. And one of the most difficult things with this job is every Monday or Tuesday morning, I have to leave this beautiful place to fly back to DC. So it would be hard to, to name one thing. I like riding a bicycle. That's my.
I know so little. I
Okay.
didn't know. You
Well,
like riding a bicycle. Okay.
That's kind of my form of exercise these
Good.
days. Yeah, I used to run a lot, but I've gone to the bicycle now. So
You beat me in basketball. Let's get to the important stuff.
I played a lot of basketball
I know,
at one
that's
time.
what I think.
As growing up in high school, and then later as an adult, I was on the Behringer basketball team in adult basketball. But so an hour bike ride, not long enough, but certainly a fun thing to do. An hour walk with Jan, a fun thing to do. Cooking a meal with Jan, a fun thing
What's
to do.
one thing you hate about Napa? It's got to be something
There's
you
no-
don't like.
No.
I guess hate's probably a strong word, but leaving Napa to go to the East Coast to work, that's a tough one.
Okay, Bob, ask something.
No, I love Jen. She's very wonderful.
I do too.
I know you do. You've been married a long time. So what advice, if any, do you have for having an extended relationship that goes many decades?
Well, the old saying, "Yes, dear,"
Yes.
and there's some truth to that. We built a house once. We've remodeled a house a couple of
Ooh,
times.
that's a tough one.
Oh yeah, and the joke has always been, Jan will say, "Why do you just?" She'll come to me. She'll, "What do you think about this toilet?" Or "What do you think about this color?" And I always say, "I like it." And one day she said, "Stop doing that. I want your true opinion." And I said, "We've been together forever. Our tastes are very similar. If you like it, I'm going to like it. So why are we making this more
come on.
difficult?"
I hope you're paying attention.
I like digging. So there's got to have been, what one fight did you have regarding a remodel?
Ooh. I don't know that we did. Probably we put a kitchen in our barn, and she took longer to do the countertop in the kitchen than I thought it should have taken, and that might have caused a little friction. But I really don't think I can't point to any. If she were here, she'd probably have 5 or 6. But we just, I am really fortunate. I found the right woman, and we complement each other. Our tastes are very, very similar.
You know that up front? When, there's never 100% certitude, whether you're voting for legislation or you're picking a woman to date. What tipped you over the edge? What was the actual tipper that made you say, yeah, I'm going to marry Jan?
Love at first sight, and I say that literally. When I saw her, it was just automatic. And then I saw her again. I should go back. Jan's from Chicago, and she came out to California. She was going to IU, Indiana University, and she came out with a girlfriend on summer break to visit California. Fell in love with Napa and didn't go back. She stayed here. She wanted to go back to school. She was in pre-med. She wanted to go back to school, but the out-of-state tuition was a burden.
Crazy.
So she got a job in Napa waiting tables. And that's a tough one. She went to the Napa Beauty College. She thought, well, this would be a good thing to do because I don't think it's too long to do that.
Right.
She says, I can cut hair, save money. So when I do qualify for in-state tuition, it'll be, I'll have some money saved up. And she started a business. And it was in Yountville. I had an office. I worked for Behringer Winery at the time. My office was in Yountville. I needed a haircut.
Oh my God.
I opened the phone book. Her haircutting business was the first one in the book. I called. Listen, check this. This was meant to be. I called. She said, I just had a cancellation. If you come now, I can cut your hair. I drove up. She cut my hair. I paid. I left. The next week, I called back, got a second appointment, and she joked. She says, he came in, every other day for a month.
So sweet. Of course, both of us at this stage in our life, our haircuts don't take very long.
They don't take very long. She still cuts my hair, and I can tell you something. I'm fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
I have not paid for another haircut since that first one.
Wow. So how short was your hair by the time you asked her out?
Well, she jokes about that all the time. He almost didn't have any hair left.
Right. You know, I hate we were just talking off the air. I was
Very
telling
sweet.
Barbara how I hate looking at my old pictures because when I had hair, I wasn't that terrible looking. And I had darker hair. When you look at old pictures, what do you feel like?
Well, I'm sure that I feel the same as everyone. You know, it's none of us are getting out of here alive. We know that. And
How did this happen?
yeah, and you know, time goes on. So I'm good with it. I think I'm in a spot in my life where I'm able to do a lot for our community, for the constituents that I represent, for our country. So I feel like that part's good. I still am able to move around pretty good. I can still, my favorite one is I leave my house on my bike and I do about a 25, 30 mile loop up to Calistoga and back. And it's about 23 miles. And then I can add on. If I go north of Calistoga, I can, you know,
I hate you.
add it up. Come on out. Get on the bike's the cure, Marty.
I'll think about that. You were saying at some point, I mean, nobody gets out of this alive. So at some point when you choose to retire, what would a typical day that you'd like, not a typical one, a day you'd like in retirement, what would that look like?
Well, you know, you're right. I'm going to retire sometime. I'm not going to be someone who's pushed around the halls of Congress in a wheelchair. I'm not going to die there. I want to be able to do some things when I get done.
Yes.
As I said, Jan and I really like spending time together. We like cooking. We like gardening. I'm sure there'll be a lot of that. We like hiking. We go on hikes a lot. We like cycling together. We'll do that. I've got some projects that I want to do. One thing that you may not know is I collect antique wooden duck decoys. And I've got a ton of them, some of them in boxes, some of them on a shelf. And at some point, I'd like to catalog all of those because, you know, that's the original Americana. And most of the ones that I have some significance to our district or to our region. And I'd like to catalog those and give recognition to the old guys that made those and make sure they're historically logged. So future generations.
They kind of balance the duck hunting. When you kill so many ducks, you've got to memorialize the good ones.
Well, you know, it's really interesting because the decoys that I have were made by people, working people who duck hunted to put food on the table, and they replicated these waterfowl. They're duck lures. They're made to look like a duck. They can put in the water and lure ducks in, so they can bring them home and put them on the table. And I can guarantee you that back in 1930, when Carl Brown from Napa was making his canvasback duck decoys to be able to hunt down in the Napa marsh, he wasn't saying, "Oh, this one's going to be on somebody's mantle someday," you know. And they made beautiful decoys, and they're historic. Our wetlands are what they are today because of duck hunters and conservationists and people who understand the importance of habitat and the environment, and that's all part of that. Good habitat, good wetlands, clean water, clean air, less floods. It's all part of the beauty that we enjoy here in the valley.
So different kind of question. Over the many years that my job and your job overlapped, I have come to your office in Washington, D.C. as part of a lobbying group for education. And I watch, we come in and we go out, and then the next group comes in and they go out, and everybody comes to you day in and day out asking for something for their industry, job, or perspective. How do you stand all that? I think it would make me nuts.
Well, it's a good question. It's an interesting question because a lot of people think lobbyist is a 4-letter word. And the fact of the matter is, as you know, everybody's got one. It can be the school superintendents, it can be the teachers, it can be the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts. And these are advocates. These are people who know more about their subject matter than any member of Congress. And they come to Congress, they come to the state legislature, the city council, the board of supervisors, making the pitch as to what they need in order to better do their job and better perform for our community. So it's a very important part of the institution of representative government. I need to know what all the superintendents in the district that I'm honored to represent have to tell me. What do they need? What do I need to know to make education better? And it could be nonstop people coming and going, but everybody has important things to talk about. Everybody has interesting things, and it's a learning opportunity for me. Every time I meet with one of these outside groups, I learn something.
Teach me something. I mean, I know the word Ways and Means Committee. I know it's a big deal. It gives out money. But you're the head. You're on it, or you're the head of the Ways and Means Committee?
I'm a member of the Ways and Means Committee. I am the way it works in Congress, for each committee, you have a chairperson, and they're the highest ranking person in whatever party is in the majority. And you have the ranking member, which is the highest ranking member in the minority party. So I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, the most significant committee in Congress. It is the one that is in the Constitution of the United States of America. I am the ranking member of the tax subcommittee. Ways and Means does tax, healthcare, Social Security, social programs, and trade.
Wow.
And I am the ranking member of the tax subcommittee. So, and any tax laws that come through Congress come through my subcommittee.
You had a question about tax and Medicare and Social Security. What were you going to?
Oh, yeah, I do have a question. I'm fascinated that both parties always say Social Security and Medicare, that's the third rail. Not going to touch it.
I wish that was still true.
It can't be true.
No.
I mean, you think about Social Security, when it was put into law, there were 17 working people supporting one retiree, and people lived to 65, maybe 70, 72. Now you have 2 people working to support one retiree, and that guy, like you and me, hopefully is going to live well into our 90s. The math doesn't add up. When is somebody going to say that to people? Just be honest, we're not all stupid, and say, this is the math. It can't work. It's going to go bankrupt, and then our children will have nothing. Is that ever going to happen?
Well, it's not going to go bankrupt. It's important to note, as you did, things have changed. The demographics have changed. Social Security has changed. When it was about retirement in the beginning, but it's been expanded. It has disabilities. It has survivor benefits. So all of those things have made us a better people and a better country. The idea that it's going to go bankrupt isn't accurate. Right now, there's a $2.7 trillion surplus in Social Security. So it has never missed a check, and it's never missed paying the full amount that is owed. It's an earned benefit. If we put into Social Security in order to get our Social Security benefits back out. Now, there's some things that need to happen to make it last another 90 years and to continue to be the best and most successful federal government program ever. But it's not a big lift. There's at a certain level of income, you no longer pay tax on your Social Security. So that could be adjusted. So the wealthier people pay a little bit more. There can be an addition to the amount contributed. It's insurance. And there's nobody that any of us know who isn't paying more for insurance today than they were 90 years ago. And the amount that we pay hasn't gone up in Social Security since, I think, the early 70s, I think. So there's adjustments that can be made. My concern right now is that $2.7 trillion in the trust fund. There's people who have an eye on that. That's a lot of money. And the people who want to privatize Social Security, they want to get their hands on that $2.7 trillion and invest that. And some folks say, well, they could invest it and there'd be a better return than what's happening right now. And that's probably accurate until something goes wrong. So if they privatize that, the investors took that 2.7 and invested it, and you were getting your check, everything was fine, and all of a sudden there's a downturn in the economy, there's a recession, there's a depression, you know what happens.
Is it unfair to say, though, that professional money managers, who would be the most senior kind of people, are better at investing, including in bad times, than would the government?
Well, I think it's two different deals. I don't think it applies. The professional people, if you take some of your earned monies and you give that money to someone to invest, there's a certain risk that goes with that. And it might work out for you, and it might not. Social Security is different. There's no risk. That pays. No one's ever not received their check. And Social Security is backed by the full faith of the United States government.
Okay. Well, nobody can do it by themselves. So he's got a couple of people who help him out. Luca, you're not just going to stand there on the side. Get in here.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay. So this is your chance, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You have one question only, to ask him that you've never asked him, but that you're really curious about. It could be professional, it could be personal, whatever you like. Ask him.
Sure. So as you know, I was born in Mendocino County in Fort Bragg. You represented Mendocino County for around 14 years in Congress. And I just wanted to hear, a story from your time representing Mendocino County, or a story from Mendocino County you haven't told me before.
Oh, that's a good one. I've got a story that is probably good for this podcast.
Perfect.
I had a town hall meeting in Mendocino, and it was televised. TV was there, radio was there, print media was there, about 150 people at the Little River Inn. And the first question, I thanked everybody for coming, didn't make a big speech. I wanted to hear what they had to say. Man raises his hand. I called on him. He said, I have a question, but first I want to thank you for the funding you got for the trail that goes through the old mill site that has been abandoned. And I started to say thank you. And he said, because you need to know, this is really important. That trail is more than a walking trail. It's more than a biking trail. It's more than a jogging trail. That trail is going to tie the mill site into downtown Fort Bragg. It is so important for the community. You got the money for that. We just can't thank you enough. So you're welcome. Do you have a question? He said, yes, I have a question.
Sure.
He said, when are you and your colleagues in Congress going to have the guts to do away with earmarks? And earmarks are kind of shorthand for getting money for members' districts. And I told him, I said, well, the money that I got for that trail, that was an earmark. And he said, I didn't know that. And it's important. So, earmarks got a real bad name when somebody got some money for what was called the bridge to nowhere.
I remember.
But the reality is, members of Congress know more about what their district needs than a 20-year-old intern in the White House. And I knew that Fort Bragg and Mendocino County needed that money, that earmark for that trail, because it helped. And
unfortunately, it went from Mendocino to Fort Bragg, so not to nowhere.
Yeah,
it was not the trail
went
to
from
nowhere.
the mill site to Fort Bragg.
Barbara, you have time to ask one more question.
What's the thing you like most about your job and the thing you like least about your job?
Oh, that's easy. The thing I like most is being able to help people. And conversely, the thing I like the worst is when I can't help someone, and people come in with a problem, and you can't do it. That's trouble. And I had a woman the other day said, she said, I needed help when my husband died with the VA. I needed, it was some money. It was a money issue. She said, and you couldn't help me. And but President Biden signed this law, and then I got the help. And I said, well, you're right. I couldn't help you because it was against the law. We needed a law to provide the means by which to help you. And the bill that you're talking about, it's called the PAC Act, and I was a co-author of that bill. I voted for it. President Biden signed it into law. And because we passed that bill, that allowed her to get the help that she needed.
So you did help her. You were a co-author of the bill.
Just took a little longer.
That's a perfect segue. I have, I'm not very involved in politics at all, but Barbara has always told me that when she needs something that she feels is not a poor use of your time, she has reached out, and Luca has been immediately responsive. So,
and Brad before him.
Right. Brad Honorato, rest in peace. Last question, what are the kinds of things that constituents, should email you or Luca about?
So I have an office policy, and I have had it since day number one. And my feeling is that if someone is desperate enough that they need to call their congressman, or before that, their state senator, the last thing I want is to give them the runaround. So in my office, if you call with a stop sign problem in downtown Napa, my staff will not say, call your city council member or call the mayor. We'll take down the information. We'll get it to whomever needs to know. That's why in a number of my offices, I've co-located with our legislators. In Napa, both Christopher Cabaldon, our state senator, Bill Dodd before him, and Cecilia Aguilar Curry, our assembly member, and myself are all in the same office. And it really works well. If someone comes in and they have a legislative issue, staff can walk across the hall to Cecilia or to Christopher's office. Similarly, if they have a federal issue and they come to them, they can walk across the hall to my office. I just think it's real important to be able to help people and do it as painlessly as possible.
And I can attest to that because I got a call from you about some soccer fields.
That's right.
And school district policy on use of soccer fields. And so Mike does it personally very frequently and calls the person he thinks can help. But I don't know if we ever got that problem fixed.
So I'm grateful.
I think that's an issue for another podcast.
I think that would take the whole time.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that Mike Thompson came across town to hear, or maybe he came across the country. Mike Thompson, I don't often say this, but it's been an honor talking with you, and I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's been fun. I appreciate both of you. I enjoyed being on the podcast. Invite me back. It's fun.
It would be an honor. Anyway, that's the Nemkos do for this time. Who the hell knows what we're going to do next time? Ooh. But I hope you'll join us.
I think that's a word you're not allowed to say.
Yeah, why not? Come on.
Just because.
She's the good Nemko. I'm the bad Nemko.
Right.
Goodbye.